welcome everybody to the meeting of Caradoc Housing Corporation, regular meeting on May the 15th, starting at 11:28. Roll call, we have absent with notice Councillor Kennis. Everybody else is in attendance. The next item is the agenda. When I have someone to move the approval of the May 15th Caradoc Housing Corporation agenda be approved as circulated. Thank you. Jeff. Heather. Any declarations of pecuniary interests? Seeing none, we'll move to approval of the minutes. We have the meeting minutes of April the 17th. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes as written? Jeff? Colin? All in favor? Financial matters, accounts. So we will start with the check detail report to be received for information. Can I get a motion to approve that? Heather, second. Jeff, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, passed. Next, we have the financial reports. So we'll start with the April 2024 financial reports to be received for information. So we're going to receive all 1, 2, 3, 4 of them together, and then we'll have discussion, okay? So a motion to receive them. Heather, seconded by Jeff. And discussion. Colin.
Yep.
Just let us know which one you're referring to, because I have them all.
Oh, okay, well, I'm gonna look at the profit and loss. Okay.
Profit and loss, okay.
Versus budget?
Yeah, they're the big one, yeah.
I love that, by the way.
Profit and loss budget versus actual, so. I think it would stand with reason that none of us are happy about it. I mean, I don't think it'd be stating the obvious that no one's very happy with them. It's not totally unexpected given what we were, given and expected to do, but I mean, I hate to use the word "it is what it is." There are things that are missing out of there. Next month, we're going to start to see, I believe, the interest or the mortgage payment back to the town, I believe. So it's going to, and I'll just be honest, it's going to progressively get a little worse before it gets better. But I believe it is going to get better, and that's the message I want to give. Is that I think somewhere in the mayor's job description it talks about leadership, and the point I want to make is, in the long run, I still believe this is still a good project. There's still a lot of pain, and there is financial pain, and there's angst, and there's worry, because we do have to turn this around, because we have a responsibility to the board and to the tenants to turn this around. We have a responsibility to the community, the municipality, who, for lack of a better word, are backstopping us on the mortgage, right? So we have to turn this around, and I don't think, the wailing and gnashing of teeth is the best way to do it. We have a problem, and we need to find a path forward to fix it. And the zeros, I mean, now we're seeing what a budget is an estimate, so we're finally gonna see what the actual numbers are, and all we can do is move forward. It's not totally unexpected, but I keep thinking back, and I'm gonna make a little speech here, and I'm gonna apologize, but I know there's public watching this. I know there is one person still around who was an original director 40 years ago at Caradoc Housing. I'd like to go talk to that person, because I'm quite sure they had the same issues when they signed 40 years ago, and that was the community and the project with the expense. But I will tell you that 40 years later, they think that Caradoc Housing and the Queen Street building was a good project. And I'm just asking people, it's not perfect, we recognize it, and it's short-term pain, but I'm still confident that 40 years from now, people are gonna look at it and go, we made the right decision. But I think as a board, we have to do what we can to mitigate the short-term pain. And I apologize, Chair, I just wanted to give my little rant, because I know there are people watching this. And then I've talked to Tim. We will talk about what we can do to mitigate it and make things whole. But yeah, it's for lack of a better word, it's a pretty sad state of affairs, but being in business, I know sometimes you still gotta believe in what you're doing, and you need to go, okay, what are we gonna do moving forward? And I think that's the most important thing. What are we gonna do moving forward? So, I said my piece, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I don't think for me, there wasn't a lot of surprises, but it is, you know, we do have to deal with it, obviously, and try to move our way out of it. Just thanks to Director Dakin for this spreadsheet. It's perfect, in my opinion. It gives a good view of everything and how it's divided out and the totals, so I appreciate the work you did on that. Did anybody else have any comments? Heather?
I agree with Colin 100%. I still see this project as a win-win for people. Yes, it concerns me, the financial state. I'm thrilled with this new presentation of the budget. This is what I've wanted from day one, so I'm very happy to see it. I think as a board, we all have to come up with solutions. We all have to work. I know we're to be governance at some point, but I think at this present stage, I really believe we have to work. But I agree with everything Colin said on this.
So I don't know if this is the appropriate place, I'm looking at the clerk, if we have a discussion about the financials and mitigating the financial loss, we could have that discussion here, right, and bring Tim into that. You don't have to wait there.
No,
Yeah, okay. Just can't go too far off agenda or we get in trouble.
Can I just ask?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is, I was surprised by the Parkview numbers.
What part specifically?
Parkview,
Yep, which part were you surprised by?
well, the market rent, the fact that they're not making, they're so far down from budget. I thought we were just out a couple of places. Isn't there just 2 or 3 that are not filled? So why is 2/3 of it under, why are we 2/3 under budget?
It's a good question, I don't
You
know.
maybe,
Yeah,
you maybe answer part of it. I think is, so you're looking at the April 24, right? We're at 22, and the budget is 81, correct? I think that's an annualized, so
It is.
the column on the left is just the period year to date. And maybe, and then,
So is it annualized on Parkview and not annualized?
no, it's annualized on both, so the column on the left, the January to the April, that's the period.
yes.
Then the budget, that's the annualized number.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right, Colin. Thanks, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Heather?
I just had a couple of questions on the budget. Water hydro costs seem to be extra high. I mean, we're nearly at half our yearly budget that we had budgeted for, which concerns me greatly, especially with the building not being fully occupied, so you'd think the strength wouldn't be as much. Is there any way we can look at that to see what's going on? And the other thing with the budget, I noticed in the other reports, there was 2 NSFs. How do we deal with NSFs? I'm not sure.
So,
And which building did they occur? It didn't identify which building.
Yeah, but before we do, can we just go back to what I was?
Yeah.
Sorry, I know you thought that it was done, but I'm not sure that this makes sense.
Okay.
To have a annual budget compared to an annual budget. I really have to do some math here to figure out how, even if we're down. Shouldn't that be like a year-to-date budget?
Yeah, we could ask you.
We could ask,
We could
yeah.
ask, sorry, that,
yeah, I was just gonna say that you're right, oftentimes they'll have what's budgeted for like a year to date and then the annual. So we could ask Bill to put that in.
Yeah, because that's what, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. And I agree with what you were saying. I don't know about these NSFs. That shocked me too.
Tim, I think you had to deal with one of them.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
yes.
So what building was it on?
It was on Caradoc Place. I believe it's been, they've caught up, I believe. It was just with the pre-authorized debit, they didn't have, it was
Just
a
happened.
we get them, it's a fairly regular thing. Not bad debt, but that they're
I miss. That's less concerning.
Can I just remind everyone to use your mic when you speak, please, or people at home can hear the recording? Thanks. Okay, Colin?
Yeah, Heather's comment about the hydro, that one is concerning, so I gotta ask two questions. I gotta, if you don't mind, direct them to Tim. Is there something specific about the hydro, then can you speak to the solar panels that are on the roof? Can you help? Because, yeah, the hydro is concerning.
So we brought the hydro costs up with Southside. Southside has yet to come and schedule their mechanical walkthrough, which will include an explanation of the solar system. The explanation that I got from them was that in the winter months, we'll generate very little hydro from the solar because the days are short and the sun isn't as bright and all the rest of it. Where in the summer months, we should see a substantial savings. The other thing that they mentioned was that in the winter months, when we're heating, the system is less efficient versus air conditioning when it's very efficient, the way heat pumps work. So our cost for running the heat is more expensive than it is to run the air conditioning. Air conditioning is less expensive. So I don't have a good answer because people haven't been out. We've been in contact with them. They basically have said that the building is functioning the way it's designed, and but they haven't come out and actually explained the entire mechanical system to us yet, which we're still waiting to reschedule. It was scheduled with the board, but we haven't got a new date for that yet.
I also, Tim, did you get a copy of the first couple of hydro invoices? Did you see those? Because the other thing that we had discussed and wondered about was, you know, we've all bought a new house or moved, and you know, the first bill is always pretty ugly, right? Because you have all those upfront costs and hookup things and things like that. And I couldn't help but wonder if there were some front-end costs of getting the building on the system that maybe were a one-time that have elevated the expenses. But I didn't see the details of the bill, so.
I haven't seen the most recent bills, but the bills that I did see, it was a lot of usage. Like the usage was high. But there's other things that I think we'll gain when we have them come and explain the systems to us. You know, I noticed when we first took possession, the heater in the garbage room was really on hot, which it doesn't need to be, and it's straight electric heater, like a milk house heater essentially. And so it reuses a ton of hydro. So like that's been turned down. I think once we have a better understanding of things we can do, and I honestly don't completely understand the way the heating and cooling system work because it hasn't all been explained. I mean, we're not idiots. We understand how it works in general, but I don't know if there's things that we can do to improve the efficiency of the building. And I don't know how they were designed or what guidelines they were designed under. So from that side of it, it might just be, you know, partly the way the building is functioning. There's systems in there that are really green, but not necessarily they weren't designed with cost effectiveness potentially. They were designed with green energy. So the carbon footprint is lower, but the operating cost may not be. So.
Yeah, and just, I mean, you have to remember, this is a budget number. So a budget is the best estimate, especially the very first one. I'd be very concerned if next year, right? But we're trying to find out, again, the true number of, so worried, but not overly worried yet.
Okay, anybody else have any comments about the budget? Okay, seeing none, then we'll, all in favor of approving the financial reports for information? Passed. We're gonna move into the property management, Mike, sorry. We're gonna move into the property management report. But before we do that, I think it would be appropriate that coming off the financials, we talk about how to mitigate we've talked about the hydro, so we'll leave that with you to set up that mechanical instruction or meeting with Southside.
Is there any help can we help you to get that meeting happen?
Why don't I CC Donna on the email so that they're in the loop, and that way you see the response back?
Yep, that sounds good, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Nope, that's okay. But let's talk about the market rents, because that's where we have another thing we could mitigate. Colin, did you want to add?
Yeah, jump in, and in fairness to I did have this discussion with Tim before, because I don't like to ambush people. I think I've mentioned to Tim, we need to get more aggressive in getting the building filled. So we had a discussion about the possibility we need to, he is advertising on certain sites on Facebook, we know there, but we had the discussion about employing a realtor who can put it on, because that is, right? I mean, the sooner we get the building filled, that's the main mitigation thing we can do, is to get this darn thing filled as quickly as possible. So with your permission, can I ask Tim to paraphrase our discussion about trying to use a realtor.ca?
So yeah, we've had some luck with renting market units of our own using realtor.ca. I wouldn't say tremendous, but any luck is better than none. We rented high-end units in Glencoe and actually found a really nice couple from Woodstock, so that we wouldn't have found otherwise. So I don't think it's a horrible idea to do that. So if that's what the board would like to do, I have no problem putting a listing up, getting them listed on realtor.ca with a real estate agent. The other thing that Colin and I talked about was, because our demographic is seniors, maybe going to the local print and putting an ad in. We're pulling some people actually out of Strathroy back to Mount Bridges. We've got one tenant in market units right now that's coming out of the higher end senior rentals in Mount Bridges and Strathroy, and coming back to Mount Bridges, sometimes because they're from Mount Bridges, sometimes because our costs are actually lower than the higher end senior product that's been built in Strathroy. So I think from that side, that's a good sign. I know just Friday last week, we had another application come in. They're not looking to move until September, but they're currently in one of the townhouse style seniors units, and they're looking to downsize for cost wise and come to Caradoc Place. So there is more momentum, but it's just not rapid. I mean, this month we rented 3 more units versus last month. So, I mean, they are filling, they're just not filling instantly. So I don't think either of those, I don't think, some print or real estate, realtor.ca are bad options. I mean, the sooner we get them filled, the sooner your budget is fixed. I'm not discouraged though from the interest, and Colin and I talked about rental pricing as well, and I don't think that we're priced inappropriately. I don't think that, had the units been $200 a month different, that would have made a difference to filling them or not. I think that there's a huge demand for way more affordable units, but unfortunately we can only do what we can do on this building. And I think that's, the majority of it. Yeah. So I guess if the yeah.
Just a question, what does it cost to have a realtor listing on?
Typically they take 1 month's rent. It doesn't cost anything, it only costs something if they bring an offer, and typically that's 1 month's rent.
Okay, any other questions for Tim about the marketing of the units, Colin?
Well, just to follow, because we had the discussion, there was some thought about offering 1 month free. Guess that's a second lever we could pull later, but in weighing the cost of a realtor versus, the 1 month free to entice people to come in. Again, looking at it from a business standpoint, you gotta spend money to get money, so if that's what it takes for the short term fix to get the long term, I'm okay. And I think it's fair, we need to show both the public and the council who we report to, that we're being aggressive and trying everything that we can do, so I'm okay with that, but, I don't know, can I, go ahead, Jeff.
Jeff?
So we only just got something into Facebook this month. And you said you got 3 new?
We rented 3 since last meeting. So there was 2 market units rented, now we have 5 rented. So, we're at 20 units in total that are rented of the 37, so we have 17 to go. You know, whether we can keep that pace or not, you know, if we continued with 3 a month, there would be light at the end of the tunnel eventually. If we could do better than that, you know, I'm all in favor of that. You know, the building full is terrific. Ultimately, that's the goal.
I also think that time of year too, like we're heading into time of year where people move around, so hopefully the momentum will continue. Jeff, did you have another comment?
Yeah, I'm just saying that, I mean, that went into Facebook as I saw it. It was very nice. It went into Facebook, what, 3 weeks tops ago. I think it was
2 weeks ago, probably.
Yeah. So 2 weeks, and would you say that is that how we got the 3 people?
No.
Okay.
No, those people weren't from Facebook. They were more organic leads that were coming. Well, maybe they were from market. I don't know, but they didn't. They were there before the post.
Okay. Thanks.
Colin?
Yeah, I just like to bring a motion, if I can, bring a motion to authorize Tim to employ a real estate agent, and secondly, to do print advertising.
Do we want to put a price on the print or give him some guidelines there?
Say up to $500. I know where he's gonna advertise, so, yeah.
Can I?
Heather? Yeah.
I just want to comment, just one comment. I support the realtor.ca 100%. The only thing that concerns me is we will give realtor.ca, if they rent it, a month's rent, approximately. And then Tim gets a portion as property manager. I'm a little concerned about that because that's a lot to give out to rent an apartment. You've got Tim's rate, you've got the realtor.ca rate. As I say, I support the realtor.ca. We've got to get the building filled, but I am getting concerned about the administrative side of things to rent this building.
Sorry, just to interrupt, we need someone to second Colin's motion.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Heather, thank you, okay.
Yep.
Yes. I'll just make my comment, I'll put on my sales manager hat, and I always find sometimes the more commission you pay, don't like paying the commission, but this is a relevant analogy, but sometimes the more commission you pay to get the sale, I understand the concern, and it's my thing is that it's painful in the short term. I'm looking in the long term, right, where we get the books to look a little bit better.
Okay, any more discussion? We have the motion on the floor then to give the property manager direction to hire a real estate agent to list the units on realtor.ca and to go ahead with some print marketing capped at $500 a month and report back to us at the next meeting. All in favor? Pass. Okay, Tim, back to your formal report. Want to start with your outdoor maintenance or just your overall management? Go ahead.
Well, so I guess we've been through the update about the what's rented. We're at 20 units rented, so I think that's a good sign that they're still renting. That's above last month. We touched on Facebook. We touched on the open house sign. That just came in like last week. So when Shannon's in the office, she can go stick it out there, and it's people stop. So I think that's a good thing as well. We're working in the process of moving Queen Street, a rent collection and stuff over to us. We've been working with the town to get that going because we're kind of blind there a little bit, but once we get that all in our property management software, that'll definitely help us with Queen Street. Cleaning, we've got a quote from Green Clean at a cost of $240 monthly to do the cleaning at Queen Street, and that's what we've asked for approval on. And I think that's later, we can come back to that. The outdoor maintenance was at a cost of $325 based on 7 months to do the outdoor maintenance, grass and such. I struggled with the building condition reports. Most of the companies that do these, so I love any input you guys have. I have no problem calling people, but most of the companies that I've found are Toronto-based companies, and like, I think they're more operating for like huge high rises, like the cost not that I'm getting the response back that I'm looking for, but what I'm seeing is that we're gonna have astronomical consulting costs for this building condition report, which isn't what we're looking for. So I don't know, I guess maybe I'd be looking for some direction back. It's never anything that I've dealt with before. I know it's a requirement of the CMHC to do the building condition report. And so I asked Devonshire if they had any input on that too. So I haven't seen that come back from them. I don't wanna bring a proposal to, you know, for tens of thousands of dollars for a building condition report that I don't think is necessary. So I guess I was looking for a little bit of direction on that.
So I could reach out to Devonshire and see if I can get some help from them. Maybe even the architects, can ask John Lee to, he might have some contacts or connections for us, and I can get those.
Yeah, I don't think hiring a Toronto firm to come do the 14 unit in Mount Bridges is what we're looking for, and they all seem to be like national corporate firms, and that wasn't what I don't think that's the direction you want. I think that's just gonna escalate things out of control.
And again, this is just, we need these building condition report to qualify for the renovation funding through CMHC. Okay, just so everybody remembered that. Yeah, go ahead, Colin.
No, thanks for answering that, because I couldn't remember that. It's always dangerous, but have we reached out to the municipality to see if they could help? Who has to do the report?
So it ends up being like an engineering company essentially. So they come in and do the condition report of the lifespan of the building, the way it exists, and what recommendations they would do to increase the lifespan further, which is what then you use to go to the renovation renew and refresh program through CMHC.
So just to follow up to the board though, and just a question, how much are you thinking it may cost for the report? 10,000?
I don't know. I don't know that answer. I don't think though you're gonna hire anybody from Toronto for under tens of thousands, which is not what, you know.
Okay. So two things. One, because we do have, you know, a board that we report to, and that's council. And I'm gonna suggest that we get the price, maybe approach the town, because Rob uses somebody, because it's like a capital request, right? Like our capital request should be approved by council. So if we identify that there was a need and we put it in our budget, this is gonna garner this much money and this is the benefit to the building and the community, I wouldn't be shy about putting in our budget and presenting it to council and saying, this is an extraordinary expense, but this is what we're gonna get out of it, right? So I would suggest, Chair, that we get the cost, maybe cross the bridge when we get there. I know we're kind of here operating on a shoestring, but you know, if you have to put it in and it's an extraordinary expense, it'd be, you know, you go to council and say, we need this money, you know, as a line item on their budget, and this is the reason why, you know, as a board, then we could justify it, right? Because there's some renovation that needs to be done to those buildings, so that'd be my suggestion, Chair. I'm not shy about doing it, because let's let council, if they had to, make a decision on an extraordinary expense.
Yeah, I guess in my opinion, there's a couple of ways to look at that. I mean, one is we owe council money, we owe the municipality money, so whether it's we have to hold back to do that or whatever, rather than borrowing more, say, look at our arrangement. But I think that we're putting the cart way before the horse
Yeah.
here. But you did bring up a good point, and I will ask Director Liborn, because he gets those assessments done on arenas and such.
Right.
So maybe he has a contact, and maybe doing it through the municipality, we might also be able to get some of the benefits of, being a frequent flyer, so to speak. So I'll look into that and get back to you on that.
Yeah, that's appreciated. For me, it's just not something that we've had to, most of the time we're managing assets we own, so we just make the decisions. It's not something we rely on reports for, but, so that was reports.
Oh, we have a couple of motions, so why don't we start with the recommendation that the board award the outdoor maintenance for Queen Street or Parkview Manor to Ace Property Management at the cost of $325 plus HST based on 7 months. Can I get someone to, then for Jeff, seconded by Colin? Any more discussion on that? Okay, all in favor? Passed. And then the next one for the cleaning, we have a motion that the board award the cleaning services for Queen Street, Parkview Manor to Green Clean Weekly at a cost of $240 a month. Someone to bring that motion to the floor, Jeff, seconded by Colin. I just have a question. What are we doing about Adelaide? Yeah,
Cleaning?
yeah.
It's awarded to a different
We
company.
already awarded them the last one,
Yeah.
so we have two, and they're two separate cleaning companies, is that the way we ended up doing it? Okay. Any other questions? Just of my bad memory?
So the other thing that I was hoping to talk about today.
Just wait till we pass this motion, okay? All in favor of the motion for Green Clean? Okay, passed. Back to you.
Okay, so 2 things that I wanted to get some direction on. I've been working on renting out the 1 unit as directed for Queen Street, and I've been working off of our list, which is how it's been typically done. It's very frustrating, and I would like to ask that you guys consider not advertising, not going off of the priority list. It's for a few reasons. Pardon?
Not going off the wait list?
The wait list, eliminating the wait list and advertising units when they become available. I called the first 6 people this month off of the list and trying to give a little bit of time for them to call back. I haven't had any luck contacting any of the 6 of them. Now, we're working off a list from 2021. There's multiple names on the list that are on already. I called one person, they already live in the building because they were on the list earlier. Because I'm just going off the list, I didn't go to look to see who was there. And I feel like the other thing that's happening by using the wait list, you're getting a wide range of people, right? Because anybody that they'll go to the city's website and Caradoc Housing, they get added to the list. Not necessarily local people either. But we're never advertising those inexpensive units. So like from a board side of it, all you're doing is advertising market units. You're not getting the recognition that yes, we have units that are $900 because you're never advertising them. You always go to the list, it just secretly gets filled and away you go. I think by eliminating the wait list, you get better applicants that are looking for housing now, right? So we advertise it for however long, 2 weeks or whatever the case is, and then we bring 5 applicants and we can choose the best of the 5 applicants. Somebody that's most qualified, somebody that's in most housing needs, somebody that meets the criteria, somebody that's local, whatever the case is. It's your call, but that's my suggestion.
Okay, Heather?
As I think most of you know, I've been against these wait lists from the beginning because of how long they were in existence. I would presume that some of the people are no longer with us. I think Tim brought up a good point. We need to advertise ourselves as affordable, and we haven't. We've been advertising ourselves as market out in the public, basically. So I'd rather see advertisement go out for the units that do become available for the affordable, and let's start fresh.
Did you want to make a motion, Heather?
I propose that the current wait list that we have not be used. and that we publicly advertise them to get them filled. Is that?
We publicly advertise units as they become available.
Yeah. As they
Yeah.
become available.
Okay. All right, so to second Heather's motion. Colin, any discussion? Jeff, you
Yeah.
got something to say?
So what, but we don't have any affordables available right now.
Yes, you do.
2-bedroom.
So we have a 1-bedroom unit at Queen Street that last meeting we decided to rent. We're keeping the other 2 open until we decide on renovation for now. But we have one that we decided to rent last month. So that was the one we were trying to rent this month. But, you know, I felt bad calling somebody saying they have a unit without giving them a day or 2 to call us back, you know, and so it's just going nowhere. And, you know, as I got thinking about it and stewing about it more, I was like, you know, we're not doing just to people out looking for housing, you know. Some of the people had units. I looked at the list that's there. There's lots of people that are in affordable units now at Caradoc Place. There's people that are at affordable units at Albert Street that were on that list. So when we call them, they're not going to move because they're already there. So I think it would just be more efficient.
Okay, any other follow-up to that, Jeff?
Okay, so
Jeff,
all we're.
use your mic, please. Thank you.
So all we're proposing to do is just get rid of the wait list and move on from there.
And publicly advertise when the units are
And
available.
advertise. And if it's an affordable unit, we advertise it as an affordable unit. We probably have to say something about there are qualification requirements on that. I'm 100% for that.
All right, all in favor? Okay, motion passed.
The other one that I needed a little bit of direction on, I don't think it's a big deal, but there was towel bars beside the bathroom sinks that weren't put into the barrier-free units. And so we've had a tenant or 2, 1 for sure, ask that these get put in because there's no place to put like an on-counter towel stand. So they're saying that they should have been put in. I don't have a cost to that. It won't be crazy expensive. I guess I probably could have went ahead and done it under the $500 limit, you know, but I didn't. I just included it in this report. So I just want to make sure that that's fine.
Any problem with the towel bars? Otherwise, we'll just leave it that it's under your limit, and if it's higher, you'll come back with that, okay. And the last item too is the, I have here is the annual review of rents. We have some people, because, just for a little background, because Parkview Manor was originally an RGI, rent geared income, there are some people who are still in the building under those guidelines. Part of those guidelines are every year they have to submit documentation to essentially prove that their income hasn't changed, or that's how they come to their annual rents. And I think there's only 2 or 3 people still under RGI. So we just need to give property managers some direction as to whether we will just continue that agreement with those people until they leave, or rather we want to change that. My only question, and I tried to look it up under Landlord-Tenant Act, is whether we have that capability to switch them from RGI to just the lower rent. And I couldn't find anything, Tim, so I'm looking at your experience there, whether you've had any experience with that.
I've never had units come out of RGI that are there. I'm not saying that it can't be done. I don't know the answer to that question. I only have a few RGI units that we own. Most of them are just affordable. But I don't have the answer for that. I can find out.
Yeah, no, I'd be loath to take somebody who's under RGI now and switch them just because that was the original mandate of the building 40 years ago, and I think we just grin and bear it until, but I'd be loath to take somebody off of RGI. I do have a question, Chair, because I can't remember. When the RGI, are we putting they're going to market rate, right? Not an affordable rate, or are they going from RGI, the units, to market or to affordable rate?
At Queen Street?
Yeah.
So the direction now is at Queen Street on vacancy that the units go to 80% of average market rent. So they're still an affordable unit on vacancy.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
And I'm happy to deal with the RGI. We're still in the process of transitioning over, so I don't know who the tenants are that are on RGI, and I don't have that information. I'm assuming that the RGI units are at 30% of their income, but I will need some direction on that.
okay. So I would direct you to reach out to Lindsay. She was the one who had the original question asked to me. And then she'll be able to identify which units it are and the paperwork that she generally gets and pass that over. And I think, yeah, I don't think we need to have a motion. I think we're just gonna continue with what we're doing.
Perfect.
Any other questions around that? Colin?
Sorry, Chair, just, again, looking at that original thing that, the budget's in a shambles, to be blunt. You know, then looking at what I would do as a business person, I'm looking at, the ideas of the units at Queen Street when they go off of RGI go to 80%. Again, looking as a business person to mitigate our loss, maybe not now, but we may wanna have a conversation that, any future units coming open in Queen Street may want to be at market rate for that. It's just a discussion, right? Because again, looking at it and wanted to say, look at every possible mitigation for it. I don't have a motion, a comment I want to make that you may want to think about it.
Yeah, just my comment on that is that if and when they get renovated, then I think that maybe bumping the prices up as they vacate up to, I don't wanna say like the same as, Caradoc Place, but maybe a little bit closer to what the true value would be when they're fully renovated. But we're putting cart before the horse.
Just want to have that.
Yeah, Tim?
there.
I have one more question for the board. I believe it was January this year, we set the rents based on 80% of average market rent. Since then, the new rents came out, and I believe it was February for last year. But the rents for Caradoc, or for Queen Street and or Caradoc Place, if they came open, am I to use what's approved in January, or am I to use 80% of the average market rent that we have current? Like, there was a difference, right? We set the rent at $8.99 for a 1-bedroom unit, I believe, in January, because that's the information we had available on average market rent. February, the new rent numbers came out, and today, 80% of average market rent is $9.48. So right now, based on our last motion, I'm going to be renting units at $8.99. I just didn't know when I should get another motion, or if that's needed, or whether the motion can just be that I can rent them at 80% of the then current average market rent, or the most current.
Heather?
I believe, and we had talked about when we did that if the market rates changed, that we would revisit going with the current market rates.
I just couldn't
Okay, I remember us having that discussion saying we have to set a pace right now because we want to get started, but that we would relook once the new rates came in.
I think, I do remember a discussion that the new data was gonna be available, but we had to get going.
Right.
So, perhaps then we should have a motion that is, that we approve the property manager to set the rates for the affordable units, which would include the affordable units at Parkview and Caradoc Place, at 80% of the current average market rent. Is that the correct wording?
The issue is at Caradoc Place is they're at 70% of median market rent,
Okay.
and Queen Street's at 80% of average market rent.
Okay, so let's just deal with,
Queen Street.
Queen Street. So, sorry, Jen, if I just get that motion back, is redirect the property manager
To set the rates for the affordable units.
at Parkview Manor,
Yep.
so we're gonna take out Caradoc Place, at 80% of average market rent? Okay. So I think that's open enough, so if there's another adjustment,
There will be,
Make that.
annually, there will be.
Annually, there'll be an adjustment, okay. Someone to bring that motion to the floor?
Sure.
Jeff, second, Heather? Or any more discussion about that?
I just
Yeah,
want
go
to say
ahead.
one thing. Could we just add one thing to that, that it would be reviewed annually? Like, we know that these rates come up every year,
Okay.
so should in the motion be annually, we will look at the adjustments based on the new,
If we have it so that I can use the most current average market rent, because we don't know when they come out. Sometimes they come out in January, sometimes they come out in December, February, March, as late as March. So, and we don't know when units are coming open. So if I can rent them at the most recent average market rent, then,
I just think there's a little
Yeah, and
bit of
then-
wording that
right.
needs to be changed.
And so we can review that 1 second, but would it be amenable then, Heather, if we added wording in there that, basically Tim updates us as with the changes?
Well, I'm just
Because they might
trying,
not they could happen at different times of year. I think that's what Tim's getting at. It's
no,
not
no,
always
and I
under-
don't want it to
yeah.
be said, but what I'm worried about is missing out on that if it's not included in the motion.
Jen, could you read, sorry. Jen, could you read the motion
Yeah,
back
so
for us,
currently
please?
it's, that, we approve the property manager to set the rates for the affordable units at Parkview Manor at 80% of average market rent. So we could say just at the 80% of average current market rent.
But then we want to add a reporting back piece, is that what you're suggesting?
Well, what I'm concerned about is I wanna make it open that we can do this as the rates change.
Right, so that's why I think if we do it at current,
Okay.
that means that it's flexible as to when the data comes available. And then our expectation, of course, would be that you would just advise us when things change.
right, and that way I don't have to come and ask to set the rates at 948 this year, next year at 972 or whatever the number is. I just will automatically go to, yeah, perfect.
Okay, all in favor of that motion? Okay, passed. Was there anything else, Tim? Renovation quotes?
While we're doing that motion, do we want to pass the exact same motion for Caradoc Place?
Right. But with the,
70% of median market rent.
so same motion, Jen, but it will be for
Or should
Caradoc.
it be separate?
It'll be a separate motion.
Yeah.
That we give direction to the property manager to set the rates for Caradoc, the affordable rates for Caradoc Place at 70% of the median market rate, at the current 70% of median, yeah, you got the wording for that. So it means as it becomes available.
Not that that's coming up right away, but that way it's done.
Okay. Someone to bring that motion to the floor? Heather, seconded. Colin? Any discussion? Colin?
Just quick
Yeah.
thing, it's important to point out that the difference between the 70 and 80, because we're contractually obligated by the mortgage we have to be at that. So it's not, we're making an exception for one or the other, in case anyone's wondering. We have a contract that says we have to be at 70%.
Yes. Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion passed.
That's it for me.
Just-
Jeff, yeah?
Can I ask a
Yeah,
question?
yeah, go ahead.
So I think last week you had an open house and you had one previous. How have they gone?
There's people stopping. They're not like, we're not doing huge open houses like where we're promoting them, but when she's in the office and she has time, like some days she doesn't have time to be doing it, but if she has time, she'll go out, put the sign out, and people stop. Like, we are getting traffic. When I stop by the building, they're doing showings. Like, you know, it's not like there's lineups, but you're not gonna get lineups for people paying market rent. You know, it's affordable units, you can get lines, but market rents take a little bit more time.
So last, what, the 8th or the 9th, you guys had an open house down there, or you had it?
Yeah. I don't know how many people, I'd have to ask Shannon. I wasn't there that day,
Okay.
but I know that they had traffic, so.
All right, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Tim?
No, that's everything.
All right.
Moving along to other business, we have the draft bylaws. Oh, sorry, Heather.
Did we not miss renovation quotes?
Oh, renovation quotes?
I'm not doing the renovation quotes until we get the condition report.
But there is one aspect over at Queen Street that I'm really concerned about, and that's their patio and partial walkway.
Okay.
It's a real safety hazard. It basically rolls. And I think that's one thing we have to address. We don't have a choice, even though our funding is not good, but that is a safety concern, and I would really like to see that move forward.
Okay, so did you want to bring a motion to give Tim some direction on that, Heather?
I'd like the motion to be that the property manager goes out and gets some quotes on the repair of that, specifically the patio and part of the walkway, I know, to entertain what it's going to cost to fix, because we're not going to have a choice. We have to fix that.
So just for clarification for the clerk, that's the patio and the walkway at Parkview Manor.
Yes.
Okay. Tim?
So I'm pretty sure I know the part that Heather's referring to. As you're coming up the door to the right-hand side, there's pavers in there that have all heaved over the years. There's roots
Yeah,
of
the
trees
trees.
that need to come out. There's a tree that needs to be removed, roots that need to be removed. So I guess I just need a little more direction. Do you want it replaced with concrete? Do you want it put back to sod? What is it that you want to see me get quoted?
Heather?
I'd like, I don't want sod, because that's their patio, and they sit out there. But I would like to see a couple of quotes with both cement and what's there existing. I know that it's the tree roots that are the problems, so we're gonna have to address that. So you probably will have to get a quote for tree removal.
Okay, so bring back to us those couple of options, maybe, Tim? Great. All in favor of the motion for direction for Tim? Sorry, has, Colin seconded.
Yep.
All right, all in favor? Pass. Okay. Anything else? Okay, we'll move on to our draft bylaws update. So they were circulated. We have two. We have the amended articles of incorporation and a draft of bylaw number 1, our constitution. So we will need to have these approved prior to them being presented at the AGM, according to the clerk.
Okay, I read that they had to be approved at the AGM.
Yeah, that's,
Sorry?
Passed at the AGM.
Okay, so, but we have to approve what we want to present?
Yes.
That's what I
Yes.
meant, sorry.
Yes.
Yes, and then there'll be, yeah. I meant we have to have our agreement first before we
Yes.
present it there, that's what I was trying to say. Okay, so any discussion on these, Colin?
yeah. Just a couple, and I got one important one. I know there was some discussion about the composition of the board, but the mayor and the deputy mayor, that's just to line up with the municipality, that the mayor and the deputy mayor are ex officio members. Doesn't currently say that in the town procedures, but I think it should, because the mayor and deputy mayor were ex officio on every other committee, Tri-Township Arena. The good news is, I don't believe in the bylaws before there was a tenant member, so we have it codified in here that there's a tenant member. So I think that's good, but I do have one concern, and that's the language about capital. And to me, it's dangerous. I know this is a good board, but part of what we need to do as governance is look forward. And I don't want to put on my council hat, but I believe on the old bylaws, there was language that both the annual operating budget needed to go to council, and any capital needed to go to council. I mean, when you read these bylaws, it says that more or less the board can go do what they want. We can go borrow money. to me, actually, as a board, it's dangerous, because these bylaws need to live for 40 years, so thinking ahead, if you ever got it wrong. Board, I would just simply like to have the language reinserted that says that the annual operating budget and the annual capital has to go to council, and that any borrowing or credit has to go to council for approval. So I would just like to see that. To me, that's important to put that language back in to protect the board more than anything.
Okay, yeah, I would agree, because essentially the municipality backstops us, so I think that they have a right to know what they're backstopping if we're borrowing money. Heather?
I agree with that, but then you are now saying that it is the municipality's responsibility for these two things. You know where I'm coming from on this, because
Yeah.
the perception has been very different. One time, oh, we have nothing to do with the city, the next we are tied to the city, and I think that needs to be really clarified for the public and as well as the board members themselves. All the restrictions that are placed on the board via the city.
Yeah. My only just comment, a lot of Middlesex Housing, which is a multi-million-dollar organization, their annual budget and capital requests get approved by the city of London, so it's not unusual. I agree, we need to, you know, I think it's in there because it also protects the taxpayer, who ultimately are on the hook for everything we do, that it's in the bylaws that anything that this board does has to go to the municipality for approval.
Yeah, and my experience has been with council, with the boards, when things come, council respects that there's an operating board who has looked at things, you know, I mean, they have a right to question, but, I mean, when stuff comes from the Township Arena, I mean, I realize that they have an operating board that's doing their job, and, I mean, we look at that, but it's not there so we can overthrow everything. It's, you know, we take it on advice, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So that's just putting my council hat on, that, yeah. Anybody else have any comments?
Well, we'll just follow up. It's also for good purposes, because when we're talking about renovations at Queen Street, we're gonna be facing renovations, right? By bringing the capital forward each year, we can go to the municipality and say, look, we need X amount of dollars in order to do renovations. And that gives council the opportunity to say, you know, we could put in a line item, or how are you gonna pay for that? So there's actually not just overseeing, there's an opportunity for the board to go in front of council and say, look, we have a shortfall in our budget, or we need X amount of dollars for capital. Can you help us with that, right? And that happened at Township Arena. They needed a new Zamboni. So the town funded the new Zamboni, so just my.
Okay, any other comments, Heather?
The only other comment I have is that when we do present to council, I would like to see I don't want to see, say, you as a councillor present it to council. I think it needs to be a board member standing at the podium saying this is why, and I think we have to become more professional in our requests. And I think that we need to follow the policy of everybody else, that you stand at the podium, put your presentation in place, present it to council, and then see what happens. And that hasn't been happening, and that's kind of bothered me, because it doesn't feel like a board. It feels more like the councilors asking another group of councilors for money instead of the board.
But I would just say that the other boards don't present that way. So we've been doing what other municipal boards do. So that would be a change. I'm not objecting to it, Heather, just saying that
No.
that would be a change, and we just have to think about how that goes in the
I think given our financial situation, we know we're going to have to go to council for money at some point. And I guess I'd like to see it done in a very professional manner, clearly laid out to them. And I think, there'll be fewer questions. I just think it's a perception thing again. I just would like to see some formalization, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, sorry, and that's just Chan to put it in. That's the way a lot of Middlesex housing operates. They have to present their budget to London City Council, and they are asked questions, and it is, there are elected officials on that board, but the president who's an unelected. But I just think it just helps in a lot of ways, right? And part of what this board is doing is to try to clean up some of the errors of the past. I think this really helps.
Yeah, whatever we can do to help
Yeah.
things
Yep.
appear more clear.
So can I bring a motion?
Yep, go ahead.
I'd like to bring a motion that we include language in the bylaws to have the board present both their operating and capital budget to council for approval, and that the board has to bring any borrowing requests to council for approval. I'd just like to make that.
Okay, someone to second that motion? Heather? Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay, passed. Was there anything else in regarding to the draft bylaws? Heather?
Of course, me. I'm just curious because it talks about election. And I'm very confused at how that election works. And in the past, the city, the council, through a committee, has approved board members. Last year, there was no official election of president, treasurer, secretary. So I'm curious as how we're going to deal with that now that it's actually in the bylaws. Because I don't understand, they call for an election, but we don't have any details on how you're supposed to do that. So that's the only question I have. These bylaws are much better than the first draft I saw. But that is a question, more of a question than a big concern.
Colin?
Yeah, and that's a fair question. We'll have, we can ask Wayne, but I do know, right? The members are the tenants, and it's important for people to know when we get at the AGM that it's one vote per household, right? So you have to be a resident member, and you have to appoint who's gonna have your vote. But as a secretary, I will ask Wayne for clarification as to how that should happen.
I guess my comment is, you're right, I'm just looking at the section again, it's not really clear how someone is nominated. It does say how, we have a meeting and then there's a vote, but the nomination process isn't really clear. Is that what you're meaning?
Yeah, it's just that they call for an election, but they don't say what type and who and.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Just, Police Services Board does follow kind of the same thing, and it's other members that nominate people for those positions.
Okay.
If that helps.
And I guess my only question is, do we want to tell Wayne how we want them in here? Do we want to follow the Police Services Board?
I just
Because,
gonna suggest that there may be language in ONCA, the nonprofit, there may be board language, so I'll see clarity.
Okay,
I was doing it as secretary chair, it wasn't usurping, I thought,
that's okay.
secretary.
I just am trying to save too much going back and forth here because we're under a bit of a time constraint on these. Any other sections that we want reviewed or any omissions that we think need to be included? Heather?
The only other thing I asked, they state councillors on the board, and because the two buildings are located within Mount Bridges, I would really like to see a councillor from Ward 2 on the board, as well as one from Ward 1, because I think the councillors get the questions And if they have a member, one of the counselors is on board, a lot of those questions can be answered. So that's the only thing that I would like to see from this change in the bylaws, is that we do have one counselor from each ward.
I don't have any objection to that. Anybody else? Maybe?
No, I don't either. Nope.
Yeah, okay, we'll put that on the list.
Yep.
Two, for a correction. Anything further? Okay, so then my understanding, so what we'll either have to have a special meeting, Jen, to approve these before the AGM?
You're just,
Not approving,
you're
but-
basically just, giving direction that you approve them and want to forward them to the AGM for final passing.
And that will have to be done by a motion, and it has to be done prior to May 26th, because you need them, it has to be in 30 days.
It's 30 days notice for, bylaws, any bylaw amendments, yeah.
Okay.
Wayne has indicated he can turn them around really quick.
Okay, so when we get those back, we'll just have to call a special meeting,
Yeah.
just to have that motion done before
Okay.
May 26th, okay? All right, perfect. Speaking of that, annual general meeting details, Jen and I had different days in the calendar for the AGM. I have June 26th, she has June 12th.
I had June 12th. No, June 12th was a meeting. We had said June 12th was a meeting of the board, and then
The AGM,
the AGM, because we had said we wanted a board meeting prior to the AGM.
okay.
I have June 12th as the AGM.
Oh,
See, I
so
didn't, I
did
understood
Jen.
it was a general meeting, and then the
Well, we
AGM
can't be ready
followed.
for that, so
So-
we'll have to bump it out.
Yeah, so the meeting, the regular meeting is June the 19th.
Correct.
And then we could have the AGM the following week, June the 26th.
Okay, that
Does
gives us
that
time
work?
to,
We're all
that gives
approved
us
on
time
that?
to
That
get
gives us some
stuff.
time?
Mhm.
So the next meeting, June the 19th, at 11:30 here. The AGM will be June the 26th at 6 PM, and we're gonna have that at Caradoc Place. So Tim, can you do, well, we don't really reserve the room, do we? It's all fine, okay. We'll have to get your help with posting notices and such. I'll get some direction from the clerk. And the secretary will do that?
He's not listening.
He's not listening.
Sorry, I'm reading the bylaw.
Just confirming the secretary will ensure that proper notice is given to the tenants.
Yeah, we'll do that, right, Jen? Yes, we'll talk about, on the AGM, just talk about
Yes,
that. I
AGM,
thought, and I
yeah.
talked to Mr. Mahar about this, because it's important that we get writing notification.
Yeah.
So not just to do it electronically or to post it on a bulletin board. I think this first one, I would like to slide something under people's doors. It's important for accountability and transparency that we get as many people out as possible, so.
Yep, that's great. Heather?
And if you want to give them to me, I will hand deliver them.
That's perfect.
Awesome.
We want people there.
Okay. Anything further regarding the AGM? All right, seeing nothing. Inquiries or comments by members? Anything else to add to today's meeting? Heather?
Just one short thing, and it came up in the meeting. There's been so much promotion of the negative that I really like the idea of promoting the positive. And one of the ways I would like to promote the positive is that when we're looking for new board members, because we agree we have a lot of work to do as a board, the more knowledge that we get on this board, the better. And I would love to see somebody on the board with very strong financial capabilities, and also someone that has also property management experience in managing buildings, if possible. I think we have to start looking at what each person can bring to the table, because that's the only thing that's gonna get us out of this mess, you know, out of the financial situation. If we have a knowledgeable person with finance experience sitting on the board, whoever that may be, and also somebody with property management experience on a large scale as a board member. Because those are the two strong things we need right now. And we are short on the board, so.
Well, we
it's
have
not-
one, I believe with the new bylaws, we'll have one vacancy for a tenant.
Yes.
member.
And there should be room for one more, I think, under the bylaws. I'll double check those.
Yeah, did one more
One more would be
resident,
the
member.
tenant.
One more resident.
Resident member.
No, then that would be 4 residents.
No,
3. Wait, oh, you're right, actually,
Yeah.
Donna's right there, Heather.
It would be mayor, deputy mayor, 2 councillors, a councillor from Ward 1, Ward 2, that's 4.
Yeah,
And then there would be 2 residents, residents of Strathroy-Caradoc and 1 tenant.
but does it
That
not
makes
say in the
7.
bylaws
at
2
least
to
one.
3?
Yeah, 2 to 3, but at least one,
But no
which
more
is a
than
10.
7, so that would work.
Yeah, so you have to, you only allowed.
Well, then I have to step back a bit here. I have to step back here a bit then, because, that's really overleaded in, municipal representation. And I don't believe the people that would sit on, not necessarily the people from council, have the experience that this board needs right now to move forward.
So there is, just to add, because there is one other, there is one other category that you can use. If there was somebody who was, for lack of a better adjective, amazing in finance or amazing in property management, there is one other category you could use.
But we still have a maximum of 7. Because then you have 8, and then you're gonna have a divided, like you could have.
Yeah, okay, I was looking at the may include up to 1 discretionary board member.
That's right, but cannot exceed 7.
Right.
I'm pretty sure, that's what my memory says, but you have it in front of you, I'd have to go back, but I'm pretty sure that it's capped at 7.
Okay, but then maybe we should just relook at that then, because I'm really concerned that this board has a lot of work ahead of them, and the more experience we have as representation, the better I think this board will come out, and it'll be helping both buildings.
So the other way that could be, we could use someone's experience is you could have them not as a board member, we could have a working group or a subcommittee. And then that person wouldn't be an official, like if we wanted, say, a group of people to look at something, we could form a subcommittee with at least one board member on the subcommittee. And then that way you could draw in experience from other people while still maintaining your numbers for the official board. Just as a suggestion.
Well, the other way, if we want to do it as a board, I mean, there is a way. We have minimum and maximums, right, of council members. So there is a way where you could do it. And I understand where Heather's coming. If you had somebody who came and was just crackerjack at something and you want to get them on, there is a way to do it. If you keep to the 7, I hate to use this word, it'll get me in trouble. Manipulate numbers, and I don't mean to say it, but there's a way to do it, right, where you could do something, right, where you could do, I mean, yes, there would be a way to do it. I just think going greater than 7 is a way. There's a way to do it. We just have to figure it out.
Like, I'm not trying to cause friction or anything, it's just that I really am concerned about.
No, you just want to get stuff done.
Yeah, I want to get stuff done, and I believe the more knowledge we have, the further we can go. That's just me.
Okay. Well, I think too that we've laid the groundwork for future boards. I mean, we won't all be on the board forever. So, at end of terms, we've laid the groundwork for what we're looking for in boards, on the board. Okay, anything further? All right, seeing none, we'll have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 12:42. Motion, Jeff, seconded by Heather. All in favor? Okay, thank you very much.